bronchial breath sound, it will almost be 1:1. Then in a vesicular breath sound, there will be no pause between inspiration and expiration, and in a bronchial breath sound, there will be a pause between inspiration and expiration. So, and bronchial breath sounds, vesicular breath sounds are normally heard in all the lung fields, whereas bronchial breath sounds are normally heard directly over the trachea. And if heard over the lung fields, it indicates that the patient is having some pathology. Then, these bronchial breath sounds, depending upon the character of the bronchial breath sounds, they are further classified into three types. So, you have three types of bronchial breath sounds: amphoric, cavernous, and tubular. So, that's amphoric, cavernous, and tubular. So, first is cavernous breath sound. Now, cavernous breath sound is basically a type of bronchial breath sound, which means that all the three factors will fit into it. It is a high pitch sound, inspiration almost equal to expiration, and there is a gap between inspiration and expiration. In addition to this, how do I know that it's a cavernous breath sound? Is imagine someone standing inside a cave and screaming. The sound that you hear through a cave will exactly be similar in a cavernous breath sound, and that is C for C, is how you remember, how I remember it basically. So cavernous breath sounds will be heard through a thick walled cavity. So you have a big thick walled cavity, which could this cavity could be most common because in our Indian setup it will usually be a tuberculous lesion. So imagine the patient is having a pulmonary tuberculosis. You're auscultating the upper lobes. And when you're auscultating the upper lobes, you hear a bronchial breath sound, and that you feel that the bronchial breath sound is similar to what you hear when the patient is when suppose for example when I'm standing inside a cave and I scream out my name, they'll have a particular tone to it, right? That's exactly how a cavernous breath sound will sound like. So C for C, cavernous breath sound is seen in cavitatory lesions, most commonly pulmonary tuberculosis is what should come to our mind in our Indian setup. Second, second is a tubular breath sound. Tubular breath sound is what how is similar is again a bronchial breath sound, and this bronchial breath sound is basically heard when you, for example, you take a funnel or you take a pipe, and if I blow through the pipe, the sound that you'll hear will be similar to a tubular breath sound. And this tubular breath sound is usually seen in any consolidatory lesions, and it can also be seen at the level of the pleural effusion. That's at the upper end of the pleural effusion. You'll hear a tubular breath sound. This tubular breath sound will be similar to the sound that is produced when someone blows through a long pipe. Then, last one is an amphoric breath sound. Amphoric breath sound is basically when the sound has a metallic nature to it. So this usually seen in bronchopleural fistulas. So what happens is in a bronchopleural fistula, the sound from the airway, that's from the bronchus, is directly through the fistula will be transmitted to the pleura. So there'll be a there's a huge what do we see? There's a huge surface area through which the air is flowing in the airway, and then you have a tiny fistula. So this tiny fistula, huge amount of air is being pushed through a high pressure into the pleura. So that will give you a metallic quality of sound, and that is called as the amphoric breath sound. Amphoric breath sounds are seen in bronchopleural fistulas, and sometimes they might also be seen in tension pneumothorax. But more commonly in a tension pneumothorax, you will have absent breath sounds. So when you hear an amphoric breath sound, the first thing that has to come to your mind is a bronchopleural fistula. Okay, so that is about your breath sound. So you know how a normal vesicular breath sound should look like. You know the characters, how it is. You know the characteristics of a normal vesicular breath sound. Then suppose if you hear a bronchial breath sound, if it's over the trachea or over the directly over the large airways, it is normal. But suppose if it's heard over the lung fields, it means it's abnormal. Why is it abnormal? It's abnormal because the sound which is produced in the airways is not attenuated while passing through the lung parenchyma and is heard directly, which means that there is some problem in your lung parenchyma. Depending upon the type, further depending upon the type of bronchial breathing that you can hear, bronchial breath sounds are classified into cavernous, tubular, and amphoric. C for C, cavernous is seen in any thick walled cavitatory lesions. Amphoric breath sounds, A for B, it is seen in bronchopleural fistulas, and tubular breath sounds are seen in consolidation. Now, next, what do I do? Is I told you we have to describe the breath sounds. The next thing is suppose I'm auscultating, but I'm not able to pick up any breath sounds at all. So what do you think that can be? That is called a silent chest. Now, what are the conditions in which you have a silent chest? The first thing is when the patient is having a massive pleural effusion. So I told you the vesicular breath sounds are present, and these vesicular breath sounds will be diminished whenever the patient is having a pleural effusion, whenever the patient is having some pleural thickening, empyema, or a lung collapse. In these conditions, their blood sounds will be diminished, but they'll be vesicular in nature. But imagine the patient is having a massive pleural effusion. The patient is having complete collapse of the lung. Like when the main bronchus itself is occluded, for example, because of some tumor, the entire lung on one side is collapsed. Or there is patient has undergone pneumonectomy, or the patient has a congenital agenesis of lung. So in these conditions, what happens is it doesn't have a lung on one particular side. So how much ever you try to auscultate, you'll not be able to pick up any breath sound, and that is called as the silent chest or complete absence of breath sound. So when this absence of breath sound happens suddenly, you have to think of tension pneumothorax, okay, or a pneumothorax. But if it's gradually progressive, like initially it was diminished and then gradually it became completely that is, you have no sounds heard, then it could be a progressive pleural effusion, which is initially a mild to moderate pleural effusion became a massive pleural effusion. Or it could then post pneumonectomy, you can ask for history, congenital agenesis of lung can be confirmed by taking a chest x-ray. That is all. So that is how we describe a lung breath sound. The next thing that you need to see is if the patient is having any added sounds. So added sounds, mainly there are two things that we look for. We look for crackles and we look for rhonchi. So what are crackles? Crackles are nothing but explosive sounds, okay? So it's nothing but, for example, when you put oil over a hot pan, you'll hear this crackling sound. It's exactly how you will hear sound over the in the lung. So you hear breath sounds. In addition to breath sounds, you hear crackles. So these crackles can further, you again further fine tune them depending on the type of crackles that are heard. So you have fine crackles and you have coarse crackles. Fine crackles are basically fine, means they are what more low pitched sounds, and these low pitched sounds are usually they're produced directly in the alveoli. Okay. On the other hand, you have coarse crackles. Coarse crackles are comparatively higher pitched. Even these both overall crackles itself are a low pitched sound. Fine crackles will be less loud. They'll be more quiet type, which are produced in the alveoli. Whereas coarse crackles are low pitched sounds which are usually arising from the bronchioles or the bronchi. Then, for that's one way of classifying crackles, describing crackles. So you should know if either they are fine crackles or whether they are coarse crackles. The next thing you should know is in which phase of respiration are they present. You can classify crackles into inspiratory crackles and expiratory crackles. Inspiratory crackles are again classified into early, mid, and late inspiratory crackles. So, based on your common sense, you can understand that when you have early inspiratory crackles, what does that mean? The air is now just passing through your airways, and and it's not yet reached your alveoli. So when the air is present in the airways itself is producing crackles, means that the patient is having some inflammation of the airway. So this early inspiratory crackles are present in chronic bronchitis. Okay. Then mid-inspiratory crackles. Mid-inspiratory crackles is when the airway or when the air has crossed your large airways and has reached the smaller airways. In these smaller airways now there is inflammation, and because of that, what is happening is there is the crackles which are produced, these explosive, bursting, bubbling kind of sound which is produced, and that means usually mid-inspiratory crackles are seen in bronchiectasis. Okay. Then late inspiratory crackles. Late inspiratory crackles means what? The air has now come from the large airways, went through the small airways, and now it's come to the alveoli. There is some problem in the alveoli. So there's difficulty for the alveoli to expand, or there is some secretions within the alveoli. So because of which you can hear crackles. So late inspiratory crackles are seen in pneumonia. They're seen in pulmonary edema. They're seen in interstitial lung diseases, and also pan inspiratory crackles means through the entire phase of inspiration you can have crackles, and this is seen in advanced cases of pulmonary. Okay, so I repeat, we finished the breath sounds. That is, we learned about what are normal vesicular breath sounds and bronchial breath sounds, and we learned about the types of bronchial breath sounds. Then we moved on to what are the other added sounds that we have to look for while we are auscultating the respiratory system. So the first thing we spoke about are crackles. Crackles are nothing but bubbling, non-musical sounds. okay, which are bubbling non-musical sounds that are usually explosive in nature. So you feel like something is crackling. That's typically how a crackles will be heard. So depending upon the phase of inspiration, depending upon the sound, you can classify them to fine crackles and coarse crackles. Fine crackles are basically low-pitched crackles, whereas a low-pitched sound, whereas which are produced in the alveoli, like all these late inspiratory in ILD, in pulmonary edema, and all the pneumonia. In these conditions, you'll have fine crackles. On the other hand, in case of chronic bronchitis, bronchiectasis, you'll have coarse crackles. These coarse crackles are the ones which arise from the airway itself. Then, depending upon the phase of respiration in which they are heard, you have inspiratory and expiratory crackles. Inspiratory crackles can again be classified into early inspiratory, mid inspiratory, and late inspiratory crackles. Early inspiratory crackles means air. It is seen when there's a problem or inflammation in the large airways or the secretions in the large airways. That is like, for example, chronic bronchitis. Then mid inspiratory crackles are seen in bronchiectasis, that's the smaller airways, and then late inspiratory crackles are seen when there's a problem in the alveoli or the parenchyma surrounding it. So this alveoli means that could be pneumonia or acute pulmonary edema, and surrounding it, it could be interstitial lung disease or there's some problem in the interstitium. Then coming to expiratory crackles. Now, expiratory crackles can be heard again in chronic bronchitis as well as in pulmonary edema. So even during expiration, if there is fluid present in the alveoli, then you're going to hear crackles. Similarly, bronchitis also, there is secretions present in the large airway. So as the air moves out of it also, it will produce crackles. Now coming to the mechanism as to why crackles are produced. The simple mechanism is, in all of these conditions that I described, you know that there is going to be inflammation. In chronic bronchitis also there will be inflammation, and because of this inflammation there will be sputum production. There will be inflammatory fluid which will be present. Okay. In pulmonary edema you'll also have, there will be again fluid which will be present. So what happens is when air passes through this fluid, there will be a bubbling which will happen, or bursting of bubbles which will happen, and that is what creates this crackling sound. Okay. And now suppose if a patient is having crack, so usually when the patient is having crackles, it indicates that there is fluid in the lung. It could be sputum, or it could be fluid, like for example acute pulmonary edema. But the patient is having dry cough, he's having dyspnea, and he's typically having crackles also, but then he does not have any sputum production. What do you think that could be? Now that, when you have a patient presenting to you with exertional dyspnea, dry cough with crackles, usually late fine crackles, late inspiratory crackles, then you'll have to think of interstitial lung disease. Why? This is because the interstitium is inflamed. All right. So it is, the alveoli is intact, the entire airway is intact. There is no fluid inside the alveoli or the airway, but surrounding the alveoli, the interstitial space is inflamed. Typically, when what happens is when the alveoli expands, it will go and disturb the inflamed interstitium, and that inflamed interstitium is what gives you the crackling sound. So you have late inspiratory fine crackles in a patient presenting to you with exertional dyspnea and dry cough. Your first DD should be interstitial lung disease. And in interstitial lung disease, the crackles that you can hear are typically named as velcro crackles. Like you have this velcro in most of your shoes, right? That when you open them or when you stick them, you'll hear that sound. That typically you'll hear velcro crackles in an interstitial lung disease. And sometimes velcro crackles are at the earliest signs of ILD, that asymptomatic patient. So a patient usually, for example, there's a known case of rheumatoid arthritis, or a known case of systemic sclerosis. These patients are generally more prone to develop ILD. And in such patients, when they present to you with other symptoms, when you auscultate the lungs, you will not have any lung pathology, they'll not have any lung symptoms. But when you auscultate the lung areas, you'll typically hear these velcro crackles, and that means that the patient is going into ILD. Okay. Then the next additional or the added sound that you will hear is ronchi. So as I told you, crackles are non-musical sounds. They're interrupted sounds. They will not be heard continuously. It is explosive bubbling sounds that you'll hear. On the other hand, ronchi is a more musical, continuous sound that you'll hear, and that is mainly produced because of air flowing through a narrowed airway. That is what you hear as ronchi. Now, depending upon this, ronchi can again be classified into monophonic and polyphonic ronchi. So, monophonic and polyphonic. Monophonic means you'll only hear one tone. the pitch, everything will be same. So you have only one tone of musical sound will be heard, and usually it will be an wheeze or a ronca is heard in expiration. Whereas polyphonic means you'll have multiple sounds. You'll have expiration during expiration. You'll hear these, but there'll be of multiple tones or multiple notes will be heard. But clinically speaking, these are very difficult to pick up. If you can pick up that it is a ronchi or a wheeze itself, is a good thing. Most commonly, ronchi or wheeze will be heard in the expiratory phase, and that usually indicates a narrowed airway. So usually in COPD or in bronchial asthma, or when the patient is having an obstructive sleep apnea, or sometimes even during pneumonia, what will happen is because of the infection and inflammation, there will be a reflex bronchospasm. All of these will result in a wheeze that will be produced. Okay, then so that is the next thing that you'll do in a here in auscultation. So you finished. You heard about you describe your breath sounds, and then you look for any added sounds. And added sounds, we saw if patient is having any wheeze or crackles. The next thing is that you look for is there are three things. You look for vocal resonance. Just like how you saw for vocal fremitus during percussion, here you look for vocal resonance. It's the same procedure where you're going to ask the patient to say either 111 or 99, and you're going to examine each lung field and see if it is increased. The only condition where vocal resonance is increased is consolidation. In all other conditions, vocal resonance will be decreased. So keep it, learn it as simple as this, as simply as this. All right. So if you hear in clinical practice, you auscultate somebody, you feel that the vocal resonance is increased in one particular area, it means that the patient underneath is having a consolidation. That is all. No need to ponder more on that. Okay. Then there are three things that you need to keep in mind when you're talking about vocal resonance. And all these basically will be present only when the patient is having a consolidation underneath. That is bronchophony, egophony, and whispering petriloquy. So what is bronchophony, egophony, and whispering petriloquy is? First, bronchophony. As I told you, what is happening is the patient in bronchophony, as a word suggests, broncho means sound is produced in the airway. Phony sound. So the sound which is produced in the airway is heard as such on your lungs. So what we do is in bronchophony, you auscultate the patient, you ask them to say few words. Usually we say ask the patient to say 111 or 99. When the patient says 111 or 99, what happens is all these say bronchophony, egophony, and whispering petriloquy will be positive in consolidation. Remember that. So in bronchophony, what will happen whenever there is a consolidation, what will happen is the air, the lung comparatively will be solidified there. So what happens is this solidified consolidated lung will conduct sound, will be a better conductor of sound. So the sound which is produced in the airway will directly pass through this consolidated lung and will not undergo any alteration as it usually undergoes when it passes through a normal lung parenchyma, and it will be directly heard in your stethoscope. So in bronchophony, what you do is you ask the patient to say words, usually 111 or 99, and the sound will be heard as if it is heard very close to the earpiece. You'll feel as if the person is directly talking to you rather than the sound being heard over the chest wall. Okay, so that means the sound will be heard very close to your earpiece, and that is called as bronchophony positive, and that is usually seen in a consolidation. And this, why is it happening? It's happening because in a consolidation, because of the solidification that is happening there, the air, the conduction of this consolidated region will be more. So because of the increased conduction or a faster conduction through a solid, the sound will be heard as if very close to your earpiece. That is why bronchophony is positive in consolidation. Second is egophony. Now, in egophony, what is happening is when you ask the patient to say E, and when you ask the patient to say E, it will be heard as if the patient is saying A, and that is called as egophony. It's also called E to A sign. So when the patient says E, letter E, it will be heard as A over your this thing in your stethoscope, and this is again will be seen, I told you, in consolidation, and can also be seen at above or at the level of the pleural effusion. It's the upper limit of the pleural effusion also, you'll be able to see egophony. So and basically the patient will have a nasal twang or a nasal quality to the sound. So whenever he's trying to say E, you'll hear it as A. That's because of the nasal twang. Now this again is seen in consolidation, and the principle behind why the patient is having egophony is what happens is
whenever there's a consolidation, the lower frequency sounds will be transmitted better. So when a patient is trying to say E has a higher frequency compared to A. So whenever the patient is saying E, that will be heard as A because the high frequencies will be diminished and only the lower frequencies will be transmitted to you. So you will hear it as A. So that nasal quality, the nasal twang that you hear in a consolidation is called as agophony. The next thing is whispering petriloquy. Whispering petriloquy is the same principle as bronchophony. That is, in a consolidation, what happens is because of the solid nature of the lung parenchyma underneath your stethoscope, the conduction will increase and you'll hear it louder. So what happens is whispered sounds will be heard loud and clear in whispering in your stethoscope, and that is called as whispering petriloquy. So how do you examine this? You ask the patient to whisper something, and when the patient whispers something, it will be heard clearly in your stethoscope, and that is again seen in pneumonia. In addition to this, what are the other things? So that is vocal resonance. So in vocal resonance, you ask the patient to say 111, you see if it is increased. In addition to this, you have to look for these three signs in vocal resonance. The last thing is you have to look for any other miscellaneous sounds which can be heard. Like for example, you have to look for pleural rub. So what is pleural rub is? It's usually a grating sound which is heard whenever the patient is having some form of pleuritis. So what happens? Pleuritis or empyema, whenever there's an irritation or inflammation of the pleura, the two surfaces of the pleura, the parietal and the visceral pleura, will rub over each other, and that gives you a rubbing sound. Okay, so here it will usually be heard like a grating sound, and that will be usually associated with pain, and when that is present, it is called as pleural rub. Then the next thing, the last thing that you need to know is succussion splash. So what is succussion splash is? It's nothing but it's classical of hydropneumothorax. So in hydropneumothorax, what will happen is the patient is going to be having fluid and will also have air. So at the air fluid interface, what will happen is you have to basically place your stethoscope at the air fluid interface. You percuss, you identify the interface of the air fluid level. Where there is air, you'll be having a resonant or a high present region, and below that you'll have a dull note. So wherever there's a interface between the resonant note and the dull note is your air fluid level. Place your stethoscope exactly over that and you shake the patient. When you shake the patient, what will happen? You'll hear that splashing sound, and that is called a suction splash, and that is very typical of hydropneumothorax. And this can either be done in sitting position, but preferably it is done with the patient lying on the lateral decubitus position with a healthy side on the dependent side. So whenever the patient's infect, the pathological side or the side where the patient is having uh, effusion, or the side where the patient is having hydropneumothorax should be on top, whereas the normal lung should be on the dependent side. Then you percuss and you identify the air fluid level. You place your stethoscope and you shake the patient, and then you're going to see if suction class is present or not. Then there are two more things that you need to know, but I think I'm crossing my time. It's called as coin sound and D spine sign. So I'll give you that as a homework. You identify what is coin sound and D spine sign. D spine, ESPINE, D spine sign. So find out what both of these are, and you let me know. And that's pretty much about auscultation of the respiratory system. I hope I was clear, and if you found me too fast, or if you didn't understand anything, please feel free to text me. I'll get back to you. And if you have any doubts, also text me. I'll get back to you with the answers as soon as I can. And thank you so much for your patience. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.